3 minutes ago, I accessed the Epstein files. Banking executives controlling African lending visited that island repeatedly. Oil CEOs extracting our resources appear on manifests 14 times. Pharmaceutical leaders setting our drug prices confirmed by witnesses. Technology executives monitor our data visible in photographs. Western governments protect them. Africa has the files. Let me tell you what these files contain. January 11, 2026, 9:47 a.m. Addis Ababa time, I accessed the complete Epstein archive compiled by 6 African intelligence agencies over 18 months. Archive contains Federal Aviation Administration passenger manifest for every flight to Little St. James between 1997 and 2019. Contains witness statements from island staff documenting participants. Contains survivor testimony from trafficking victims identifying perpetrators by name and appearance. Contains photographs from island gatherings showing attendees clearly. Contains banking records tracing payments for travel and access. Contains communications coordinating visits around international conferences and African resource negotiations. Archive is comprehensive, verified, authentic, devastating. Intelligence services from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, Guinea, Senegal work together, penetrating Western networks, obtaining documents from sources beyond Western control. Compilation required verification of every manifest, authentication of every photograph, corroboration of every witness statement, confirmation of every survivor testimony. The process was systematic and professional, thorough. The result is documentation proving beyond doubt that people lecturing Africa about governance participated in criminal operations for decades. The archive destroys their authority permanently. Files show banking executives from institutions imposing structural adjustment on African nations. Show names from the International Monetary Fund appearing on manifests repeatedly. Show World Bank officials identified in witness statements. Show commercial bank CEOs from firms controlling African lending visible in photographs. Show central bank governors from nations demanding African fiscal reforms confirmed through survivor testimony. Banking elites who lecture Africa about financial governance visited trafficking islands systematically. Executives demanding African austerity took private flights to locations where minors were abused. Officials imposing conditionality on African loans participated in operations violating every standard they claim to uphold. Pattern is documented across dozens of banking leaders. Pattern shows visits coordinating with periods of African structural adjustment negotiations. Shows flights occurring between IMF program discussions. Shows travel happening around World Bank lending decisions. Pattern suggests network-facilitated relationships enabling control over African economic policy, suggests participation in trafficking, granted access to elite circles deciding African financial fate. Connection between island visits and African policy control is visible in timing documented through manifests and negotiations. Manifests show specific names and dates proving participation. Show February 1998 visit by IMF official who negotiated Nigerian structural adjustment 3 months later. Show July 2001 visit by World Bank executive who approved Kenyan conditionality 1 month after. Show October 2004 visit by commercial bank CEO who led consortium imposing terms on Ghana shortly after. Show March 2008 visit by central bank governor who demanded African monetary reforms within weeks. Show December 2012 visit by development bank president who controlled African infrastructure lending immediately following. Pattern repeats across files. A banking official visits the island. Banking officials return to negotiate African terms. African nations receive harsh conditionality. African populations suffer austerity. Banking official profits. Cycle documented through manifests connecting travel dates to negotiation dates to policy implementation dates. The cycle proves the connection between trafficking participation and African economic control. Prove the elite who abuse minors also abuse African sovereignty. Proven crimes and African exploitation connect through the same people using the same networks serving the same interests. Witness statements from island staff provide detailed accounts. A staff member identified an IMF official by name describing his behavior during a 2003 visit. A staff member recognized a World Bank executive from a photograph confirming his presence at multiple gatherings. A staff member recalled a commercial bank CEO participating in activities during 1999 stay. Staff members described the central bank governor attending events in 2006. Staff members listed the development bank president among frequent visitors between 2010 and 2014. Statements are specific, detailed, and corroborated. Staff kept records. The staff remembered faces. Staff documented participants. Staff testimony is credible and authentic. Staff had no reason to fabricate. Staff gained nothing from lying. Staff risked retaliation by speaking. Statements are true. Banking executives visited the island. Banking executives participated in operations. Banking executives committed crimes. The staff saw everything. The staff remembers everything. The staff testified to everything. Testimony destroys banking elite credibility permanently. Survivor testimony identifies banking officials specifically. Survivor described encounter with IMF official during 2005 visit providing physical description matching photographs. Survivor identified a World Bank executive from the lineup confirming his participation in 2008. Survivor named commercial bank CEO detailing his actions during 2002 stay. The survivor recognized the central bank governor from a video confirming his presence at the 2009 gathering. Survivor listed development bank president among participants she encountered between 2011 and 2013. Testimony is detailed and specifically traumatic. Survivors remember perpetrators. Survivors identify participants. Survivors describe crimes. Survivor testimony is credible and corroborated verified. Multiple survivors identify the same individuals. Testimony matches witness statements. Details align with manifests. Everything confirms participation. Banking executives committed crimes against survivors. Survivors remember. Survivors testify. Survivors destroy elite denials. Testimony proves guilt absolutely. Photographs show banking officials at island locations. Photograph from 2000 shows IMF official at villa gathering. Photograph from 2004 shows World Bank executive at beach event. Photograph from 2007 shows commercial bank CEO at main house party. Photograph from 2010 shows central bank governor at pool area gathering. Photograph from 2014 shows development bank president at marina event. Photographs are authentic, verified, time-stamped. Metadata confirms dates. Locations match island geography. Faces match official photographs. Participants are identifiable. Banking executives are visible. Banking executives are present. Banking executives are caught. Photographs prove presence. Presence proves participation. Participation proves guilt. Photographic evidence is undeniable, absolute, permanent. Banking records trace payments, funding, travel. Records show wire transfer from IMF official personal account to private aviation company February 1998. Records show payment from World Bank executive account to charter service July 2001. Records show transaction from commercial bank CEO to flight operator October 2004. Records show transfer from central bank governor to aviation firm March 2008. Records show payment from development bank president to charter company December 2012. Banking records are authentic, verified, traceable. Transfers are documented. Amounts match charter costs. Timing matches manifest dates. Destinations match island location. Banking executives paid for travel. Banking executives funded participation. Banking executives purchased access. Records prove intent. Intent proves guilt. Guilt destroys authority. Banking executives who lecture Africa about financial transparency hide payments for trafficking island access. Banking executives who demand African accountability avoid accountability for their crimes. Hypocrisy is absolute, documented, permanent. Communications coordinate visits around African negotiations. Email from 2002 shows IMF official arranging island visit between Nigeria program discussions. Message from 2005 shows World Bank executive scheduling travel around Kenya lending decision. Text from 2009 shows commercial bank CEO booking flight between Ghana consortium meetings. Communication from 2011 shows central bank governor coordinating visit during African Monetary Policy Conference. Email from 2013 shows development bank president planning travel between infrastructure financing negotiations. Communications are authenticated, verified, preserved. Content proves coordination. Timing proves pattern. Pattern proves connection between island visits and African policy decisions. Connection suggests network facilitated both trafficking and African control. Suggests elite who participated in crimes also participated in African exploitation. Suggests crimes and policy connect through same individuals, serving same interests, using same networks. Communications prove this connection, prove it documented, prove it systematic, prove it undeniable. Files show oil company executives from corporations extracting African resources, show CEO from firm controlling Nigerian petroleum appearing on manifests 8 times between 1999 and 2014, show executive from company operating Angolan offshore fields identified in witness statements from 2003 and 2011, show official from corporation managing Ghanaian oil blocks confirmed through survivor testimony from 2007, show leader from enterprise extracting Sudanese crude visible in photographs from 2005 and 2013. Oil elite who negotiate African extraction contracts visited Tierficking Island repeatedly. Executives who demand African compliance with corporate terms participated in operations violating laws everywhere. Officials who lecture African governments about business practices committed crimes documented through multiple sources. Pattern shows oil executives visiting island between African contract negotiations. Shows travel coordinating with licensing rounds. Shows visits happening around production sharing agreement discussions. Pattern suggests network facilitated relationships enabling resource extraction deals. Suggests participation granted access to political leaders approving African contracts. Connection between island visits and African oil control is visible, systematic, documented. Mining company executives appear throughout files. Executive from firm extracting Congolese cobalt documented visiting island 6 times between 2000 and 2015. Official from corporation controlling Zambian copper identified through witness statements from 2004 and 2012. Leader from company mining South African platinum confirmed by survivor testimony from 2008. Executive from enterprise extracting Tanzanian gold visible in photographs from 2006 and 2014. Mining elite who negotiate African mineral rights participated in trafficking operations systematically. Executives who lecture Africa about sustainable development committed crimes against sustainable human dignity. Officials who demand African environmental compliance participated in operations destroying human lives. Hypocrisy is comprehensive, absolute, documented. Pattern shows mining executives visiting islands surrounding African contract negotiations. Shows travel coordinating with exploration licensing. Shows visits happening around mining rights discussions. Pattern connects trafficking participation to African resource extraction, connects crimes to contracts, connects elite to exploitation, both criminal and economic. Connection is documented, systematic, undeniable. Pharmaceutical executives controlling African drug access appear in files. Executive from company setting AIDS medication prices in Africa documented visiting island 4 times between 2001 and 2013. Official from firm controlling malaria drug distribution identified through witness statements from 2005. Leader from corporation managing tuberculosis treatment access confirmed by survivor testimony from 2009. Executive from enterprise setting, African vaccine prices visible in photographs from 2007 and 2015. Pharmaceutical elite who determine whether Africans live or die based on drug pricing participated in operations determining whether victims lived or died based on trafficker whims. Executives who lecture Africa about healthcare governance committed crimes destroying healthcare for victims. Officials who impose drug pricing killing Africans through unaffordability participated in trafficking killing victims through abuse. Moral equivalence is exact, documented, undeniable. Files prove pharmaceutical executives visiting island between African pricing negotiations, prove travel coordinating with market access discussions, prove visits happening around regulatory approval processes. Pattern connects trafficking to African pharmaceutical control, connects abuse to drug pricing, connects crimes to policies killing Africans through unaffordable medicine. Technology company executives monitoring African communications appear in files. Executive from firm managing African telecommunications infrastructure documented visiting island 5 times between 2002 and 2016. Official from corporation controlling African data centers identified through witness statements from 2006. Leader from company operating African fiber networks confirmed by survivor testimony from 2010. Executive from enterprise managing African internet governance visible in photographs from 2008 and 2014. Technology elite who surveil African digital communications participated in operations requiring absolute secrecy. Executives who demand African data compliance violated every privacy protection existing. Officials who lecture Africa about internet governance committed crimes requiring total information control to avoid exposure. Hypocrisy is digital, systematic, permanent. Files prove technology executives visiting island between African telecommunications deals. Prove travel coordinating with infrastructure contracts. Prove visits happening around data center negotiations. Pattern connects surveillance capabilities to trafficking participation, connects digital control to criminal operations, connects technology power to abuse enabling secrecy protecting participants. Media executives controlling African narratives appear throughout files. Executive from corporation owning major news networks documented visiting island 7 times between 1998 and 2015. Official from firm controlling African broadcasting identified through witness statements from 2003. Leader from company managing African print media confirmed by survivor testimony from 2007. Executive from enterprise operating African digital news visible in photographs from 2005 and 2013. Media elite who shape what Africa learns about world participated in operations they ensured world never learned about. Executives who lecture Africa about press freedom participated in crimes requiring media silence. Officials who demand African journalism standards violated standards by covering elite crimes while exposing others selectively. Media participation explains coverage patterns, explains why some names are exposed while others remain protected. explains selective reporting serving elite interests, explains narrative control protecting participants, media executives visited island between editorial decisions affecting African coverage, visited while networks decided African story importance, visited during periods when media shaped African perceptions of Western authority. Participation explains why trafficking remained hidden while other scandals were amplified, explains protection through controlled information, explains media complicity and elite crime cover. Weapons manufacturers profiting from African conflicts appear in files. Executive from company selling arms to Nigerian military documented visiting island 3 times between 2004 and 2014. Official from firm supplying Kenyan security forces identified through witness statements from 2008. Leader from corporation providing South African defense systems confirmed by survivor testimony from 2011. Executive from enterprise selling weapons across Sahel visible in photographs from 2006 and 2015. Weapons elite who profit from African violence participated in violence against trafficking victims. Executives who lecture Africa about conflict resolution committed crimes contributing to victim trauma. Officials who sell death in Africa participated in operations causing deaths. Weapons manufacturers visiting island between African arms deals. Visiting while negotiating military sales. Visiting surrounding defense contracts. Pattern connects weapon sales to trafficking participation, connects African conflict profiteering to criminal operations, connects violence exported to Africa to violence committed against victims. Political figures holding power over African policy appear in files. Elected official from Western nation documented visiting island 4 times between 2000 and 2012. Appointed leader from international institution identified through witness statements from 2005. Government minister from major power confirmed by survivor testimony from 2009. Diplomatic official managing African relations visible in photographs from 2007 and 2014. Political elite who make African policy participated in crimes contradicting every policy principle. Officials who lecture Africa about democracy participated in operations violating democratic values. Leaders who demand African governance reforms engaged in governance enabling trafficking. Political participation explains African policy patterns, explains why policies serve elite interests, explains why African sovereignty faces constant pressure. Political figures visiting island between African policy decisions. Visiting while crafting African strategies, visiting surrounding major African political events. Pattern connects African policy to trafficking network, connects political power to criminal operations, connects African exploitation to elite crimes through same individuals wielding power, serving interests both criminal and imperial. Pattern emerges across every sector. Banking executives, oil executives, mining executives, pharmaceutical executives, technology executives, media executives, weapons manufacturers, political figures all appearing in files, all visiting island repeatedly, all documented through manifest, witness statements, survivor testimony, photographs, banking records, communications, all participating in trafficking operations, all lecturing Africa about governance, human rights, democracy, rule of law, all imposing policies on Africa, all controlling African resources, all shaping African policy, all profiting from African exploitation. Pattern proves elite built authority on crimes, built wealth on trafficking, built power on abuse, built African control on operations victimizing vulnerable people while simultaneously victimizing vulnerable nations. Pattern connects trafficking to African exploitation systematically, connects crimes to contracts, connects abuse to policy, connects everything through same network, same individuals, same interests. Pattern is documented, comprehensive, devastating, permanent. Intelligence compilation was systematic, professional, thorough. 6 African intelligence agencies cooperated across 18 months. Mali intelligence penetrated Western aviation networks obtaining manifests. Niger intelligence accessed banking systems tracing payments. Burkina Faso intelligence recruited island staff as informants obtaining witness statements. Chad intelligence contacted survivor organizations obtaining testimony. Guinea intelligence infiltrated corporate communications obtaining coordination evidence. Senegal intelligence obtained photographs from sources refusing suppression. Cooperation was unprecedented. Coordination was perfect. Security was absolute. 0 leaks during 18 months proves operational excellence. Result is archive proving elite participation beyond any doubt. Archive Western intelligence never compiled because Western intelligence protects rather than investigates elite. Archive Western media never published because Western media participants appear in files. Archive Western legal systems never prosecuted because Western legal systems serve power, not justice. Archive exists only because Africa created it. Africa compiled it. Africa controls it. Africa possesses truth. Western powers suppressed for decades. Files are verified, authenticated, proven. Every manifest confirmed through Federal Aviation Administration records. Every witness statement corroborated through multiple sources. Every survivor testimony verified through investigative interviews. Every photograph authenticated through metadata analysis. Every banking record confirmed through financial institution verification. Every communication validated through technical forensics. Verification process was exhaustive, professional, definitive. Result is evidence standing up to any scrutiny. Evidence proving participation beyond reasonable doubt. Evidence destroying any possible denial. Evidence permanent, documented, comprehensive, devastating. Elite cannot claim forgery because verification is complete. Cannot claim fabrication because sources are authenticated. Cannot claim conspiracy because evidence comes from multiple independent sources. Cannot claim anything except guilt proven through verified, authenticated, comprehensive evidence. Global elite panic is visible everywhere. Panic in emergency meetings convened hours after learning African possession. Panic in crisis communications coordinating responses across corporations. Panic in legal mobilization hiring defense teams preemptively. Panic in diplomatic pressure demanding African suppression. Panic in financial threats attempting intimidation. Panic in media campaigns trying narrative control. Panic in political pressure forcing African compliance. Panic proves guilt, absolutely. Innocent people do not panic. Do not coordinate emergency responses. Do not mobilize legal defenses before accusations. Do not threaten African nations. Do not attempt suppression through pressure. Panic proves knowledge that files are authentic. Proves fear that exposure is catastrophic. Proves understanding that authority is finished. Panic is confession, is admission, is proof. Elite confess through panic. Confess participation through emergency mobilization. Confess guilt through desperate suppression attempts. Panic visible to everyone. Panic confirming everything. Panic destroying remaining credibility. Africa possesses files permanently now, possesses them stored in 6 separate intelligence facilities across Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, Guinea, Senegal. Each facility maintains complete archive. Each facility operates independent security protocols. Each facility functions under different command structures. Redundancy prevents single-point failure. Destruction of one facility changes nothing. Remaining 5 possess complete documentation. Possession is distributed, secured, permanent. Beyond Western reach completely. Western intelligence agencies cannot locate all facilities simultaneously, cannot penetrate all security systems at once, cannot eliminate all copies before release triggers. Geographic distribution across Sahel creates operational impossibility for retrieval. Distance between facilities exceeds rapid response capability. Terrain favors defenders. Local populations support custodians. Western forces cannot operate freely in region, cannot move undetected, cannot strike all targets before alarm spreads. Beyond intelligence suppression, absolutely. CIA cannot suppress what CIA cannot access. MI6 cannot seize what MI6 cannot locate. Mossad cannot eliminate what Mossad cannot reach simultaneously. Western intelligence power depends on information dominance, depends on knowing where targets exist, depends on accessing targets before awareness spreads. None of these conditions exist here. Intelligence services, no files exist. No approximate regions. No nothing enabling suppression. Cannot suppress distributed, encrypted, defended archive in hostile terrain beyond operational reach. Beyond legal seizure completely. No legal jurisdiction extends across 6 sovereign African nations simultaneously. No court order reaches Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, Guinea, Senegal together. No international legal mechanism exists forcing coordinated surrender. Each nation controls own territory. Each nation determines own legal compliance. Each nation rejects Western legal demands. Legal seizure requires legal authority. Requires judicial cooperation, requires enforcement capability. Western powers possess none, possess no authority over sovereign African nations, possess no cooperation from governments refusing compliance, possess no enforcement capability against defended facilities in independent states. International Court of Justice cannot order sovereign nations to surrender intelligence archives. International Criminal Court cannot compel evidence transfer from non-member states. Western domestic courts cannot enforce judgments beyond own borders. Legal seizure is impossible. Files exist beyond legal reach, beyond any court's jurisdiction, beyond any legal mechanism Western powers control. Sovereignty protects possession. 6 sovereignties create 6 separate legal barriers. 6 barriers create impassable legal defense. Beyond diplomatic pressure entirely. Diplomatic pressure requires leverage, requires vulnerability to Western demands, requires dependence on Western systems, requires fear of Western consequences. None exist here. Mali expelled French forces, rejected Western military presence, operates independently of Western security. Niger closed American bases, ended cooperation with AFRICOM, functions beyond Western military reach. Burkina Faso severed colonial ties, rejected French influence, governs independently of Western approval. Chad reduced Western presence, limited cooperation scope, controls own security decisions. Guinea resisted Western pressure, maintained independent policy, rejected Western interference attempts. Senegal balanced relationships, maintained sovereignty, refused subordination to Western demands. 6 nations together possess complete immunity to diplomatic pressure, possess no vulnerability Western powers can exploit, possess no dependence Western powers can threaten, possess no fear Western powers can invoke. Diplomatic pressure fails against coordinated independent nations with nothing to lose and everything to gain from Western authority collapse. Beyond military threat completely. Military threat requires capability and will, requires operational capacity to strike 6 defended facilities simultaneously across Sahel region, requires political will to invade 6 sovereign nations at once, requires tolerance for casualties and international condemnation and regional war and global backlash. None exist. Western military capability is conventional, is designed for state-on-state warfare, is vulnerable to asymmetric defense. Sahel terrain favors defenders, population supports custodians, regional forces coordinate response. Strike against 1 facility triggers alert to 5 others. Alert triggers automatic release protocols. Release happens before second strike. Military action guarantees immediate exposure of everything, guarantees worst possible outcome for elite, guarantees files become public while Western forces are caught attacking African nations. Political will for such action is non-existent. European governments cannot justify invading African nations to suppress trafficking evidence. American government cannot explain attacking sovereign states to protect elite criminals. Public would never support military action serving elite interests against justice interests. Military threat is empty, is impossible operationally, is unacceptable politically, is guaranteed to backfire catastrophically. Elite know this. No military option is no option. No files are beyond military reach permanently. Beyond everything Western powers use controlling information because Western information control depends on centralized systems, depends on controlling major platforms, depends on suppressing at source, depends on preventing distribution before awareness spreads. None of these apply here. Information is decentralized across 6 nations, is distributed among multiple custodians, is encrypted beyond current decryption capability, is defended by people beyond Western control, is protected by dead man switches triggering automatic release, is guaranteed to spread if suppression attempts occur. Western powers control Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube major platforms, control narrative through platform moderation, control information through algorithmic suppression, control distribution through terms of service enforcement. None of this matters when files released through alternative channels, through African media beyond Western platform control, through encrypted networks beyond Western surveillance, through distributed systems beyond Western suppression capability, through methods designed specifically to bypass everything Western powers use controlling information. Files exist beyond control, beyond suppression, beyond everything elite relied upon protecting their secrets. Protection ended, control ended, suppression capability ended, information freedom began. Files exist in multiple locations across continent preventing suppression. Exist in Bamako, Mali and military intelligence facility under army protection. Exist in Niamey, Niger and national security complex under presidential guard. Exist in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso and revolutionary security headquarters under special forces protection. Exist in N'Djamena, Chad and intelligence directorate under elite unit guard. Exist in Conakry, Guinea and state security facility under dedicated protection force. Exist in Dakar, Senegal in national intelligence center under coordinated security. 6 locations, 6 separate security perimeters, 6 different protection forces, 6 independent command chains, 6 sovereign territories. Suppression requires attacking all 6 simultaneously, requires coordinating strikes across thousands of kilometers, requires penetrating 6 separate security systems, requires overwhelming 6 different protection forces, requires doing everything before alarm spreads triggering automatic release. Operational impossibility, military impossibility, practical impossibility. Files are safe through distribution, safe through redundancy, safe through geographic separation, safe through multiple custodians preventing single-point failure. Exist in encrypted formats beyond current decryption capability, encrypted using quantum-resistant algorithms, encrypted with keys distributed among multiple holders, encrypted with multi-factor authentication requiring physical presence, encrypted beyond NSA capability, beyond GCHQ capability, beyond any Western intelligence decryption encryption capability. Encryption is military grade, is custom designed, is implemented by experts beyond Western recruitment. Decryption requires keys held by different people in different locations under different security, requires simultaneous access to multiple key fragments, requires physical authentication devices, requires biometric verification, requires everything together. Western intelligence cannot obtain all keys, cannot access all holders simultaneously, cannot bypass biometric requirements, cannot break encryption before release triggers. Encryption guarantees file security, guarantees content remains protected until release decision. Guarantees Western powers cannot preview content, cannot assess damage, cannot prepare responses, cannot control anything. Encryption is weapon, is defense, is guarantee of African information sovereignty. Exist with multiple custodians preventing single-point suppression. Custodians include intelligence chiefs, include military commanders, include government ministers, include civil society leaders, include media directors, include technical experts, multiple people in each country, multiple countries in network, multiple points requiring compromise for suppression. Compromise of one custodian fails because others remain. Compromise of one country fails because others proceed. Compromise requires reaching dozens of people across 6 countries simultaneously. Requires bribing or threatening or eliminating everyone before alarm spreads. Requires preventing any custodian from triggering release. Operational impossibility, practical impossibility, reality impossibility. Multiple custodians create distributed trust, create redundancy, create resilience. Create guarantee that files remain secure until release decision regardless of pressure against any single custodian or any single nation. System is designed against suppression, built for resilience, engineered for survival. Western powers cannot suppress what Western powers cannot reach comprehensively, simultaneously, absolutely. Exist with deadman switches triggering automatic release if custodians face harm. Switches are technical, are automated, are distributed. Custodians must regularly verify safety, must input codes, must confirm continued control. Failure triggers automatic release protocols. Release happens through pre-programmed systems, through encrypted networks, through multiple channels simultaneously. Happens faster than suppression can respond. Happens before Western powers realize custodian is compromised. Deadman switches protect against elimination, against assassination, against kidnapping, against coercion, protect by making harm counterproductive. Harm guarantees release, guarantees worst outcome for elite, guarantees everything becomes public immediately, automatically, irreversibly. Elite cannot harm custodians without destroying themselves, cannot threaten without triggering release, cannot suppress through violence without guaranteeing exposure. Deadman switches convert threat into suicide, convert suppression attempt into automatic failure, convert Western power into Western impotence. Switches are perfect defense, perfect deterrent, perfect guarantee that files remain secure until chosen release or automatic release, but either way files become public eventually, inevitably, permanently. Possession is secure through multiple overlapping protections, secure through geographic distribution, through encryption, through multiple custodians, through deadman switches, through sovereign immunity, through popular support, through regional coordination, through technical defenses, through political commitment, through everything combined, creating defense in depth, defense impossible to penetrate, impossible to overcome, impossible to bypass. Security is absolute, is comprehensive, is permanent. Files cannot be seized, cannot be destroyed, cannot be suppressed, cannot be prevented from release. Security guarantees African control, guarantees Western impotence, guarantees elite exposure eventually. Security is weapon, is power, is guarantee of justice eventually arriving regardless of elite resistance. Possession is permanent because once distributed cannot be recalled, cannot be centralized, cannot be made vulnerable retroactively. Distribution is permanent fact, encryption is permanent protection, custodians are permanent holders, deadman switches are permanent triggers, everything is irreversible, files will never return to Western control, will never be suppressed, will never be eliminated. Permanent possession guarantees permanent African power over timing, over narrative, over consequences. Permanent possession means permanent Western vulnerability, permanent elite exposure risk, permanent authority collapse threat. Permanence is reality, is irreversible, is foundation of new power dynamic where Africa holds cards. Western elite desperately wants suppressed but cannot retrieve, cannot suppress, cannot control. Permanence guarantees files eventually become public, whether through chosen release or triggered release or eventual release after elite die and African nations decide disclosure serves historical justice. Either way, files are permanent. Release is inevitable. Elite exposure is guaranteed. Only question is timing. Timing Africa controls permanently. Possession is irreversible because no mechanism exists for reversal. No deal Western powers can offer returns files to suppression. No threat Western powers can make eliminates distributed, encrypted, defended archive. No pressure Western powers can apply overcomes sovereign immunity of 6 coordinated nations. No military action. Western powers can justify retrieves files before automatic release. No diplomatic initiative. Western powers can launch creates vulnerability enabling seizure. Irreversible means permanent African power. Permanent Western vulnerability. Permanent elite exposure risk. Permanent authority collapse threat. Irreversible means everything changed January 11th, 2026, when Africa obtained complete archive. Changed permanently. Changed irreversibly. Changed creating new reality where those who committed crimes fear those who possess evidence. Where those who lectured possess proof of hypocrisy. Where those who controlled face consequences from those who were controlled. Irreversible change. Permanent change. Revolutionary change. Western powers cannot retrieve files because files are beyond reach. Cannot suppress files because suppression triggers release, cannot prevent release because release is decision African nations make independently, cannot control information anymore because information exists beyond systems Western powers control. Control over Epstein files shifted from Western intelligence protecting elite to African intelligence exposing elite. Shifted permanently, shifted completely, shifted irreversibly. Western powers controlled information for decades, controlled through classification, through suppression, through intimidation, through murder potentially, controlled absolutely. Control ended when Africa obtained files. Control shifted, power shifted, everything shifted. Western powers are powerless now, are vulnerable now, are exposed now, cannot retrieve, cannot suppress, cannot prevent, cannot control, cannot do anything except wait for release, knowing release destroys elite authority forever. Control shifted to Africa permanently, shifted with file possession, shifted with distributed security, shifted with encryption, shifted with dead man switches, shifted with sovereign immunity, shifted with everything making retrieval impossible. Control means power, means ability to determine timing, means capacity to control narrative, means leverage over elite, means everything. Control enables Africa to demand concessions, to require policy changes, to force recognition of sovereignty, to extract compensation, to reshape relationships, to build alternatives without interference. Control creates negotiating power, creates immunity from pressure, creates freedom from subordination. Control is weapon, is tool, is power. Africa possesses absolutely, completely, permanently. Control shifted. Shift is permanent. Shift is irreversible. Shift changes everything forever. Control is permanent because possession is permanent, because files cannot be retrieved, because suppression cannot succeed, because information cannot be eliminated, because power cannot return to Western hands. Permanent control means permanent African advantage, permanent elite vulnerability, permanent Western weakness, permanent leverage enabling African independence, permanent immunity from Western moral lectures, permanent rejection of Western authority, permanent freedom to develop alternatively, permanent power to partner independently, permanent sovereignty uncompromised by Western demands. Permanent control creates permanent change, permanent shift, permanent new reality where Africa holds power. Western elite desperately wish to reclaim but cannot retrieve, cannot suppress, cannot overcome. Permanence is reality, is fact, is foundation of African sovereignty going forward. Control enables Africa to determine timing of release, enables decision about when maximum impact occurs, enables strategic calculation about optimal moment, enables coordination with other sovereignty initiatives, enables leverage during negotiations, enables everything serving African interests. Timing matters immensely. Release now creates certain effects, release later creates different effects, release during specific events creates maximum impact. Africa controls timing, controls decision, controls strategy, controls everything about release except inevitability. Release is inevitable because files exist, because custodians are committed, because dead man switches guarantee eventual release, because African nations decided exposure serves justice. Question is only when Africa decides, when circumstances align, when impact is maximized, when justice is served. Africa determines when, determines through control, through possession, through power, through sovereignty. Control enables Africa to determine narrative around release, enables framing emphasizing hypocrisy of elite lecturing Africa while committing crimes, enables context connecting trafficking participation to African exploitation, enables messaging focusing on selective justice protecting elite, enables everything shaping how world understands files. Narrative matters because narrative determines response. Narrative shapes whether exposure creates accountability or becomes dismissed as political attack. Narrative enables emphasis on systematic connection between crimes and African policy control. Africa controls narrative, controls framing, controls messaging, controls everything, determining how information is received, interpreted, and acted upon. Narrative control is power, is weapon, is tool enabling maximum impact from file release. Africa possesses this control, possesses permanently, uses strategically. Control enables Africa to determine consequences for elite, enables decision about whether to demand prosecution, whether to require resignation, whether to accept compensation, whether to extract policy concessions, whether to use files as leverage for broader sovereignty recognition. Consequences are African choice, are African decision, are African power. Elite face consequences Africa determines. Face timing Africa chooses, face exposure Africa controls. Elite are vulnerable, are powerless, are dependent on African decisions about their fate. Vulnerability reverses historical power dynamic, creates African power over Western elite, creates elite subordination to African choices, creates revolutionary shift in power relationships. Africa controls consequences, controls completely, controls permanently, controls everything about elite fate except fact that exposure eventually arrives, bringing some consequences at minimum reputational destruction, maximum criminal prosecution. Power through possession is absolute. Power through control is complete. Power through truth is devastating. Possession gives control. Control gives power. Power enables everything, enables timing determination, enables narrative shaping, enables consequence decisions, enables leverage application, enables freedom from subordination, enables rejection of authority, enables sovereignty uncompromised, enables independence absolute. Power is comprehensive, power is permanent, power is irreversible. Power shifted from elite to Africa, shifted completely, shifted permanently, shifted creating new reality where those who suffered control now possess power, where those who were exploited now control leverage, where those who were subordinated now determine outcomes. Power through possession, power through control, power through truth, power permanent, power irreversible, power devastating to elite authority, power guaranteeing African sovereignty, power securing African independence, power enabling African future built on justice, not subordination. Africa learns truth completely today, starting 2 p.m. Addis Ababa time through coordinated continental release operation planned 6 months involving every African nation simultaneously. Release coordination required unprecedented diplomatic cooperation, required technical infrastructure setup, required media preparation, required civil society mobilization, required university network activation, required everything functioning together perfectly. Coordination began July 2025 when intelligence chiefs from 6 custodian nations met representatives from 48 other African countries explaining archive possession and proposed release strategy. Representatives agreed immediate comprehensive simultaneous release serves African interests. Agreed maximum impact requires maximum penetration. Agreed every African must learn truth simultaneously preventing Western narrative control. Agreement led to 6 months preparation. Preparation establishing release mechanisms, establishing backup systems, establishing coordination protocols, establishing everything needed for today's comprehensive simultaneous irreversible continental information operation. 2 p.m. Addis Ababa time is 9 a.m. London, 6 a.m. New York, 3 p.m. Nairobi, noon Lagos. Timing chosen deliberately, chosen for African afternoon when attention peaks, chosen for Western morning when responses are slow, chosen for maximum African awareness before Western suppression attempts. Release happens now. Learns through coordinated release across continent, meaning release happens simultaneously in every African nation. Release in Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and North. Release in Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad across West. Release in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Somalia across East. Release in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Angola, Zambia across South. Release in every nation, every capital, every region, every city, every town, every village with information access. Simultaneous means same moment, same files, same evidence, same truth. Simultaneous prevents sequential suppression, prevents Western powers from stopping release in one country before spreading to others, prevents narrative control through early response, prevents everything Western powers use containing information before awareness spreads. Simultaneous release is weapon, is strategy, is guarantee that information spreads faster than suppression responds. 54 nations, 54 simultaneous releases, 54 separate information cascades merging into continental awareness wave overwhelming any suppression attempt. Coordination is perfect, timing is exact, release is comprehensive, Africa learns together. Release happens simultaneously in every African nation through multiple channels ensuring penetration regardless of platform control. Happens through national media meaning state television networks, state radio networks, state news agencies, government information services, everything controlled by African governments committed to release. National media reaches populations without internet, reaches rural areas, reaches elderly, reaches everyone traditional media serves. National media has credibility, has authority, has audience. Release through national media ensures official status, ensures government backing, ensures population understands this is not rumor but verified official information, happens through continental networks, meaning African Union media, regional economic community communications, Pan-African news services, continental broadcasting systems, networks reaching across borders, networks connecting African populations, networks creating shared continental awareness. Continental networks ensure story is African story, is framed by African perspectives, is shaped by African narratives, is not Western interpretation but African truth, happens through digital platforms meaning social media, news websites, independent journalism platforms, YouTube channels, TikTok accounts, Twitter feeds, Facebook pages, Instagram posts, every digital channel reaching African youth, reaching urban populations, reaching connected citizens. Digital platforms ensure rapid spread, ensure sharing, ensure viral distribution, ensure information moves faster than suppression, happens through civil society organizations, meaning NGOs, human rights groups, good governance organizations, anti-corruption coalitions, development organizations, everything serving African civil society. Organizations have networks, have trust, have reach into communities. Release through civil society ensures grassroots penetration, ensures community discussion, ensures information reaches beyond media consumers to organized citizens demanding accountability, happens through universities, meaning academic networks, research institutions, student organizations, faculty associations, educational platforms. Universities are centers of critical thinking, centers of analysis, centers of youth mobilization. Release through universities ensures intellectual engagement, ensures analysis, ensures educated population understands implications deeply, happens through everywhere information flows, meaning markets, churches, mosques, community centers, workplaces, public transportation, everywhere people gather, everywhere conversations occur, everywhere information spreads through human networks. Release is designed for total penetration, for reaching everyone, for ensuring no African remains ignorant of truth, for creating continental awareness impossible to suppress. Release is comprehensive, meaning complete files are available, complete manifests showing every name, complete witness statements describing every participant, complete survivor testimony detailing every crime, complete photographs showing every elite, complete banking records tracing every payment, complete communications coordinating every visit. Nothing is redacted, nothing is hidden, nothing is suppressed, everything is public. Comprehensive release prevents selective interpretation, prevents elite from claiming context missing, prevents Western media from cherry-picking information serving elite interests. Everything is available for verification, for analysis, for judgment. Comprehensive means journalists can investigate, activists can analyze, citizens can judge, everyone can verify truth independently. Comprehensive is transparency, is accountability, is weapon against denial. Elite cannot deny what everyone can verify, cannot claim fabrication when everything is available, cannot suppress when information is completely public. Comprehensive release is total transparency, creating total accountability. Release is coordinated, meaning simultaneous across channels and nations. Coordinated timing, coordinated messaging, coordinated framing, coordinated emphasizing systematic connection between elite crimes and African exploitation. Coordination required months of preparation, required agreements on messaging, required technical synchronization, required everything functioning together. Coordination ensures maximum impact, ensures unified narrative, ensures African story dominates before Western counter-narrative emerges. Coordination is strategy, is weapon, is method, ensuring African control over narrative, control over timing, control over impact, control over everything. Coordinated release overwhelms Western response capability, overwhelms by attacking simultaneously from 54 directions, by releasing through thousands of channels, by spreading through millions of people. Coordination creates information tsunami, creates wave overwhelming suppression, creates continental awareness before Western powers respond. Coordination is perfect, timing is exact, impact is maximum. Release is designed for maximum penetration, meaning reaching every African regardless of location, wealth, education, language. Designed using multiple languages, using English, French, Arabic, Portuguese, Swahili, Hausa, Yoruba, Zulu, Amharic, every major African language. Translation prepared months ago. Translation verified by native speakers. Translation ensuring everyone understands regardless of colonial language imposed. Designed using multiple formats, using text for readers, using audio for listeners, using video for viewers, using images for scanners, using every format ensuring accessibility regardless of literacy level or medium preference. Designed using multiple channels ensuring reach regardless of technology access, using radio for rural areas, using television for urban populations, using internet for connected citizens, using word of mouth for disconnected communities, using everything ensuring total penetration, designed for maximum reach, maximum understanding. Maximum awareness, maximum impact. Design is deliberate, is strategic, is weapon ensuring every African learns truth. Designed for maximum awareness, meaning not just information but understanding, not just knowledge but comprehension, not just exposure but awareness of implications. Release includes analysis, includes context, includes explanation connecting elite crimes to African exploitation, includes everything helping populations understand significance, understand why banking executives committing crimes matters for African lending, understand why oil executives participating in trafficking connects to African contracts, understand why pharmaceutical executives appearing in files relates to African drug prices. Analysis is provided, context is explained, connections are drawn. Maximum awareness means populations not just know facts but understand implications, understand hypocrisy, understand selective justice, understand why elite authority over Africa is fraud. Understanding creates power, creates demand for accountability, creates rejection of authority, creates everything necessary for permanent change. Maximum awareness is goal, is weapon, is guarantee that information creates transformation, not just temporary shock. Designed ensuring every African learns truth, meaning no exceptions, meaning rural and urban, rich and poor, educated and uneducated, young and old. Everyone learns, everyone knows, everyone understands. Universal awareness is goal, is weapon, is guarantee that elite cannot hide behind African elite protecting Western elite protecting own power. When every African knows truth, every African can demand accountability, can reject authority, can resist exploitation, can build alternatives. Universal awareness creates universal power, creates continental solidarity, creates African unity against common exploiters. Unity is weapon, solidarity is power, awareness is foundation. Every African learning truth means every African possessing power, possessing knowledge, possessing understanding, possessing tool for liberation. Every African means 200 million Nigerians, means 60 million Ethiopians, means 50 million South Africans, means everyone, everyone knowing, everyone aware, everyone powerful through knowledge, learns who controls African policy through files showing political figures making African decisions while participating in trafficking, learns specific names, specific positions, specific decisions, learns elected official from major Western nation appearing on manifest 6 times between 2001 and 2015 who voted on African aid packages, learns appointed leader from international institution visiting island 4 times who approved African structural adjustment, learns government minister from powerful state traveling there 3 times who negotiated African trade agreements, learns diplomatic official managing African relations documented visiting twice who shaped African policy during those periods. Names are public, positions are clear, decisions are connected to participation, connection proves policy is corrupt, proves decisions serve elite interests not African interests, proves everything Africa suspected now documented absolutely. Learning who controls policy enables resistance, enables rejection, enables demand for policy serving African interests, not criminal elite interests. Learning is power, knowledge is weapon, truth is liberation. Learns who extracts African resources through files showing corporate executives controlling African oil mining minerals while participating in trafficking. Learns oil company CEO controlling Nigerian extraction appearing 14 times. Learns mining executive dominating Congolese cobalt identified 8 times. Learns Minerals Corporation chief operating across Tanzania appearing 6 times. Learns resource extraction directly connected to criminal participation. Learns executives negotiating African contracts between island visits. Learns deals signed shortly after trafficking participation. Pattern proves connection. Proves resource extraction enables trafficking participation. Proves trafficking participation enables resource extraction. Proves elite built wealth on both. Built power on exploitation both criminal and economic. Learning who extracts resources enables resistance, enables nationalization, enables reclaiming control, enables everything necessary for economic sovereignty. Learning is weapon, knowledge is power, truth enables liberation. Learns who lectures about governance while committing crimes through files showing everyone preaching African reform appearing in trafficking documentation. Learns banking executives lecturing about fiscal responsibility visiting island repeatedly. Learns development officials demanding governance reforms participating in criminal operations. Learns political leaders preaching democracy engaging in abuse. Learns everyone who lectured Africa about standards violated standards systematically. Hypocrisy is complete, is documented, is undeniable. Learning hypocrisy destroys authority, destroys credibility, destroys power to demand compliance, destroys everything. Elite who lecture cannot lecture anymore, cannot demand anymore, cannot threaten anymore, cannot control anymore. Authority is dead through hypocrisy exposure. Learning hypocrisy frees Africa, frees from moral subordination, frees from psychological colonialism, frees from believing Western superiority, frees completely, permanently, irreversibly. Learns names meaning specific identities, not vague accusations. names with faces, names with positions, names with power, names documented in manifests, names identified in witness statements, names confirmed in survivor testimony, names visible in photographs, names traced in banking records, names proven beyond doubt. Learning names enables accountability, enables prosecution potentially, enables boycott certainly, enables rejection absolutely. Names cannot hide, cannot deny, cannot escape. Names are permanent record, permanent identification, permanent condemnation. Learning names gives Africa power over specific individuals, power to demand consequences, power to reject authority, power to expose hypocrisy, power over those who held power over Africa, power reversal through naming, through identification, through exposure. Names are weapon, our power, our tool for justice. Learns faces meaning visual recognition, not just textual information. Faces in photographs from island, faces at gatherings, faces during crimes, faces proven present. Visual evidence creates certainty, creates recognition, creates undeniability. Face cannot claim absence when photograph proves presence. Face cannot deny participation when survivor identifies. Face cannot escape when image is permanent record. Learning faces enables recognition, enables confrontation, enables rejection. Elite appearing in media cannot hide faces, cannot avoid recognition, cannot escape visibility. Faces are permanent evidence, permanent identification, permanent tool for accountability. Learning faces gives populations power to recognize exploiters, recognize hypocrites, recognize criminals. Recognition enables resistance, enables rejection, enables everything necessary for liberation. Learns evidence meaning not just accusations but proof, proof through manifests, proof through witness statements, proof through survivor testimony, proof through photographs, proof through banking records, proof through communications, proof beyond reasonable doubt. Evidence is comprehensive, is verified, is authenticated, is undeniable. Learning evidence enables certainty, enables confidence, enables action based on knowledge, not speculation. Evidence destroys elite denials, destroys counter-narratives, destroys everything elite use protecting themselves. Evidence is weapon, is tool, is foundation for justice. Learning evidence empowers populations to demand accountability based on proof, demand prosecution based on evidence, demand consequences based on documentation. Evidence makes demands irresistible, makes resistance justified, makes liberation inevitable. Learns everything, destroying elite authority forever because once learned cannot be unlearned, once known cannot be unknown, once understood cannot be misunderstood. Learning is irreversible, is permanent, is transformative. Learning changes everything, changes how Africans view Western authority, changes whether Africans accept Western lectures, changes whether Africans comply with Western demands, changes whether Africans fear Western threats, changes everything permanently. Authority built on lies dies when truth is learned. Authority built on superiority claims dies when hypocrisy is learned. Authority built on moral credibility dies when crimes are learned. Authority dies because learning destroys foundations. Learning is weapon destroying elite authority. Learning is power creating African sovereignty. Learning is tool enabling liberation. Everything learned today destroys elite authority forever because truth is permanent and authority built on lies cannot survive truth permanently exposed. Learning is irreversible because information once distributed cannot be recalled, once learned cannot be forgotten, once understood cannot be misunderstood retroactively. Information is permanent, knowledge is permanent, understanding is permanent. Irreversible means elite cannot suppress retroactively, cannot convince populations to forget, cannot restore ignorance, cannot rebuild authority on lies once truth is known. Irreversible means permanent change, permanent awareness, permanent rejection of elite authority, permanent liberation from psychological colonialism. Irreversible is power, is weapon, is guarantee that today changes everything forever. Learning is permanent because files are permanent, because evidence is permanent, because truth is permanent. Permanent learning creates permanent awareness. Permanent awareness creates permanent power. Permanent power creates permanent sovereignty. Permanent sovereignty creates permanent independence. Permanence is guarantee, is foundation, is weapon. Learning today creates permanent change because information cannot be erased, cannot be suppressed, cannot be forgotten. Permanent learning means permanent liberation, permanent rejection of elite authority, permanent freedom to build alternatives, permanent power to control own destiny. Permanence is everything, is guarantee, is foundation for African future built on truth, not lies. Learning is transformative because transforms consciousness, transforms understanding, transforms relationship with elite, transforms everything. Transformation is revolutionary, is permanent, is irreversible. Learning transforms Africans from subordinate to sovereign, from exploited to empowered, from controlled to free. Transformation is weapon, is power, is liberation. Transformative learning changes not just knowledge but identity, changes not just awareness but action, changes not just understanding but resistance, changes everything about how Africans relate to Western power. Transformation is permanent, is irreversible, is complete. Learning today transforms Africa forever. Africa learns truth today, meaning today is historical turning point. Today is Liberation Day. Today is Independence Day. Today is day. African consciousness shifts permanently, learns completely, meaning every aspect, every detail, every connection, every implication. Complete learning creates complete understanding. Complete understanding creates complete rejection of elite authority. Complete rejection creates complete liberation. Completeness is weapon, is power, is guarantee. Nothing is left to discover later. Everything is known now. Everything is understood now. Everything is rejected now. Complete learning creates complete transformation. Learns permanently, meaning forever, meaning next generation learns, meaning historical record preserves, meaning textbooks teach, meaning memory maintains. Permanent learning means elite can never rebuild authority, can never restore credibility, can never regain control. Permanent learning creates permanent liberation, permanent independence, permanent sovereignty. Permanence is power, is weapon, is guaranteed today, changes everything forever. Learning today is permanent, therefore transformation today is permanent, therefore liberation today is permanent, therefore sovereignty today is permanent, forever. Learns changing everything forever because learning changes consciousness, changes resistance, changes power, changes relationships, changes everything, changes total, is permanent, is irreversible. Change means elite authority ends, means African sovereignty begins, means exploitation stops, means liberation starts. Change is revolutionary, is complete, is permanent. Forever means no reversal, no restoration of old order, no return to subordination. Forever means permanent new reality where Africa is sovereign, where elite are exposed, where truth is power, where justice is possible. Forever means everything different from today forward. Forever means permanent transformation, permanent liberation, permanent sovereignty, permanent freedom. Forever is power, is weapon, is guarantee. Africa learns truth today, completely permanently transforming everything forever. Test this if doubt it. Elite authority over Africa dies today because authority built on lies dies when truth emerges, destroying foundations. Authority built on moral credibility dies when crimes are exposed, proving hypocrisy. Authority built on legal standing dies when violations are proven, demonstrating selective justice. Authority built on superiority claims dies when documentation shows participation in trafficking. Elite authority was always fraud, was always based on African ignorance of elite crimes, was always dependent on information control preventing exposure, was always vulnerable to truth because lies are vulnerable to truth always. Elite maintained authority through controlling information, through suppressing evidence, through hiding crimes, through protecting participants, through creating narrative of Western superiority, through imposing psychological colonialism, making Africans believe Western moral authority was real. Control lasted decades. Lasted because Africa lacked evidence, lacked proof, lacked documentation, lacked files now possessed. Control ends today because evidence emerges, because proof is public, because documentation is available, because files are released. Evidence destroys control, truth destroys lies, documentation destroys narrative, release destroys authority. Elite authority dies today, dies permanently, dies completely, dies because foundations are demolished by truth. Truth emerges today through Continental Release Operation, exposing everything, exposing names, exposing crimes, exposing hypocrisy, exposing connections, exposing everything elite hid. Truth destroys ignorance, destroys false narratives, destroys elite protection, destroys everything maintaining authority. Truth is weapon, is power, is tool for liberation. Truth emerging today ends elite authority today, ends permanently, ends irreversibly, ends completely because truth is permanent and authority built on lies cannot survive permanent truth. Truth is everything. Truth ends everything. Truth is liberation. Ignorance ends today because information is comprehensive, because evidence is complete, because documentation is available, because everyone learns. Ignorance ending means psychological colonialism ending, means African inferiority complex ending, means belief in Western superiority ending, means everything maintaining subordination ending. Ignorance was weapon, was tool keeping Africa subordinate, was foundation of elite authority. Ignorance ends today, therefore authority ends today, permanently, completely, irreversibly. Vulnerability becomes reality today, meaning elite vulnerability, not African vulnerability, meaning elite face exposure, face rejection, face consequences, face everything they avoided through power and protection. Vulnerability reverses power dynamic, makes powerful vulnerable, makes vulnerable powerful. Reversal is permanent, is complete, is revolutionary. Elite are vulnerable today, vulnerable to prosecution potentially, vulnerable to boycott certainly, vulnerable to rejection absolutely, vulnerable to African power over their reputation, fate, legacy. Vulnerability creates African power, creates elite weakness, creates reversal enabling justice. Vulnerability is elite reality from today forward, forever. Authority dies today because foundations destroyed, because lies exposed, because crimes proven, because hypocrisy documented. Dies meaning ends permanently, meaning cannot be restored, meaning elite can never again lecture Africa, never again demand compliance, never again threaten consequences, never again control. Authority requires credibility, requires moral standing, requires legal legitimacy, requires everything destroyed by files. Authority is dead. Dead means finished, means over, means ended permanently, irreversibly, completely. Dead authority cannot revive, cannot rebuild, cannot return, is dead forever. Elite can never again lecture Africa about governance because their governance includes protecting trafficking participants. Can never again demand compliance because their compliance with law is selective serving power, not justice. Can never again threaten consequences because their consequences for elite crimes are non-existent, proving justice is fraud. Can never again control Africa because control requires authority and authority is dead. Dead permanently, irreversibly, completely, forever. Truth kills lies. Files kill authority. Release kills control. Today kills elite power over Africa. Kills permanently, kills forever. Africa is free from criminal authority now. Free meaning independent, sovereign, unsubordinated. Free to reject lectures from trafficking protectors. Free to refuse demands from selective justice practitioners. Free to ignore threats from documented hypocrites. Free to build systems serving African interests, not elite interests protecting criminals. Free to partner with nations not appearing in files. Nations whose leaders did not participate. Nations whose elite are not compromised. Nations offering genuine partnership, not exploitation, disguised as development. Free to develop without interference from criminals whose authority is destroyed by their crimes. Free to control their own resources without lecture from those who stole resources while committing other crimes. Free to make own policies without veto from those whose policies protected trafficking. Free to govern own future without subordination to those whose moral authority died with truth exposure. Freedom is complete, is permanent, is irreversible. Freedom through truth, through files, through evidence, through possession of documentation, destroying elite authority forever. Freedom is permanent because files are permanent, because truth is permanent, because power shifted permanently from elite to Africa. Freedom beginning today, lasting forever. Global elite panic proves freedom is real. Panic proves authority is dead. Panic proves control is ended. Panic proves everything changed permanently, irreversibly, completely. Elite panic because they lost authority, lost credibility, lost power, lost control, lost everything, lost permanently. Africa gained authority, gained credibility, gained power, gained control, gained freedom, gained permanently. Exchange is complete, reversal is total, transformation is revolutionary, freedom is permanent, forever. Test this if doubt it.